It was. I just have to say one thing. I think that, and if anybody wants to report, here's a nice headline. Jimmy Uwales says Christopher Dodd should be fired by the MPAA, and I'll tell you why. In the heat of all of this, the first thing that he said that I thought was fairly outrageous is he talked about Wikipedia's action, and he called it an abuse of power. 10 million people apparently contacted Congress, 10 million voters, actually 14 million people, 10 million voters contacted Congress. That is not an abuse of power, that's democracy, and he had best get used to it. The second thing that he said, he had this really lovely statement he made where he says to congressmen on television, he was on Fox News, and he said something to the effect, you can look up the exact quote of, you know, when your job is at risk and we wrote you a check, now our job is at risk, you better stand up for us. In other words, we paid for this Congress and they're not doing your jobs for us. This is disgusting. And it actually diminishes, from the perspective of the MPAA, if you are a member organization of the MPAA and this is your public representative who's making you look like a corrupt Congress-buying organization in front of the general public, you are not being an effective lobbyist. You are not solving the problems that the MPAA hired you to solve.
You know, it's funny. I learned yesterday that 30 years ago, MPAA was objecting VCR, video cassette recording. The head of MPAA said that VCR would destroy the movie industry and that it would result in a huge loss of jobs throughout the US. But as we know, video cassette industry wielded huge profits to this industry, to movie makers. And so is the internet. It may seem as a disruptive technology, but this disruptive technology will eventually result in creating more profit for movie makers in case they learn how to use it.
So let me just talk about that for a second, because I am a person who, I am sympathetic to the problems that people face. If you've just spent $100 million making a movie and you realize it's all over the internet for free, this is upsetting. This is an actual problem. But here's my story. My daughter, who is 11 years old and is a super awesome super geek, had never seen Star Wars. And so I realized I was being a very bad parent having not watched Star Wars with her. And so I got it for her for Christmas. I bought it in the UK. I bought her Blu-ray DVDs because I've got a nice Blu-ray compatible player. But we were gonna watch it. I was flying her back home to where she lives in Florida, and we were gonna watch it on the plane. Turns out her computer doesn't have a Blu-ray player in it. All right. Well, I already paid for it, but I don't mind. I'll pay again. So I went on to iTunes to buy the first movie. I was going to pay a second time because, I mean, I've met George Lucas and he doesn't have enough money. I'll pay a second time. I don't mind. I pay. I go on to iTunes. It's not available on iTunes. Furthermore, I know as soon as she gets it home to her mother's house in America, she won't be able to play it because it's a region-encoded DVD. So basically, we're screwed. We can't watch what I paid for, and I'm willing to pay for a second time. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do. I go online to see if I can figure out a way. And of course, you wonder, why is my 11-year-old daughter looking at me like, Dad, you know, why don't you go on Mega Uploads? She didn't say that. She doesn't know about Mega Uploads either. But if you want to know, you know, if you think about this concept, digital distribution platform is an incredible opportunity for the entertainment industry and for Hollywood. And one of the first things they can do is actually let me buy what I want to buy. I have friends in Israel who... I had a friend in Israel who was, you know, moaning about the death of Mega Uploads because she said she uses it to watch, I think she said House, which I've never seen, but... And I said, oh, well, can you get it on iTunes? And she said, they don't sell it. Like, there is no choice. So here's somebody who's saying, not saying, oh, I don't want to spend that much money for it. This is somebody who's saying, well, I mean, if they would put it on iTunes, I would buy it. And then people are turning apart. So the first step that Hollywood can do is say, why don't you actually try to make some money on the internet? There's a lot of money to be made that you're leaving on the table by being so obstinate. But I do think, though, I think it is easy for us on our side to say, oh, you are against the VCR, you are against cassette tapes, you've been against these things and you end up making lots of money, so now you're against the internet and we're just going to ignore you because you've been wrong before. I think that is a tempting approach, but I think that we also have to say, look, they do face serious real problems. And if we don't listen to their real problems, they won't listen to our real problems. I do think that there are solutions here that are not that complicated. The mega uploads case does show that the law can go after these people. Does the law need to be tweaked in various ways? Sure. But do we need a draconian new regime? Absolutely not. So, okay.
Thank you to both. And again, I would like to stress that this is... Thank you. Maybe you should have a photo. Maybe Sabine? Really?